I'm Jackie, and I'm here with another Nature Minutes. And today what I'm going to be doing is starting a series of videos about knots. And just to start out, we're going to do some really basic ones that even if you don't do a lot of outdoor skills, do camping, hiking, climbing, all that stuff, these are going to be some knots that are going to serve you well in your daily life, because what we're going to be doing is dissecting the knots that go into tying our shoes. So what I want you to do is grab your tennis shoes, and if you can get a parent or somebody or find some tape, I'd like you to tape off one of the laces on each of your shoes, because that's going to make it easier to identify the different shoelaces, because they all look the same, don't they? Okay, so get your stuff and let's start.
First things first, what I want everybody to do is just to tie your shoes. So I'm going to be using this pink string over around my foot, but it's going to be the same thing. I just want you to be able to see the difference between which end of the string I'm using. And so I've color-coded them red on my right and white to start in my left. I might change this occasionally throughout these videos, but this is the way we're going to start off with. So I just want everybody to tie their shoes like they normally would tie them. And you don't need to follow me on this, just go your own way. And then when you finish tying your shoes, I want you to pull the tails of your laces all the way through. Don't do it too tight because we don't want to make it difficult to get them out, but let's just pull them all the way through. So if you have pulled your shoelaces through and your knot looks a little like mine, you might be experiencing the same problem I usually have, because I do a knot that's called a granny knot when I tie my shoes. And what I should be doing is a square knot. So we're going to teach you the components of the knots that make up your shoelaces when you tie your shoes. And we're going to show you how to properly do a square knot so that you might run into less problems of your shoelaces coming untied when you're playing. So first things first, all of us are doing what's called an overhand knot. Okay? So an overhand knot is pretty simple in that all it is you have your two strings and you put one crossing over like this or crossing over like this. You can do it predominantly right hand or left hand. It doesn't really make a difference. It comes out the same. I'm a right-hander though, so I like to do it this way. So it just crosses over the other one, flips underneath, and pulls out. And that's called an overhand knot. So we can do that a couple of times. Overhand knot. Like that. Left-handers, you might do it this way. But as you can see, it really comes out the same way. So the next thing that we're doing is we're actually doing what's called a slip knot. And I'm going to show it a little simpler than what we're doing. But a slip knot is basically a knot that comes untied really easy. And with your tennis shoes, that's really important. Like, we want to be able to get out of those pretty quickly when we're done. So instead of tying the knot and pulling the ends all the way through, what we're doing is we're just pulling a section of the rope through. So basically, the way I do it is I make a bow, like a bunny ears, and you can pull a little bit of it through. And that's basically what we're doing when we're making our loops, our bunny ears, when we're making when we're tying our shoes. Okay, so you can try that a couple of times, just practice it. That's called a slip knot, because when you pull the tail, it just slips out. So we know a slip knot and we know an overhand knot, and that's all that we actually need to know in order to tie our shoes. So what I want you guys to do is to follow along. I'm going to go right over left for my overhand knot. And it's going to be important how you did your first one this time. It might not have when we were just doing one independent knot, but now that we're trying to actually tie our shoes, it's going to be important that you do your overhand knot the same way I did. Okay, so right, red, we're going over the white and then back through. Okay, and then you'll pull those through. Okay, now instead of doing, okay, we switch And now I have white in my right hand, okay? So instead of doing white over red, okay, and doing the same way that we did the first time, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to keep red going over white. So we'll do like this and like this, and we'll pull that through. And you can see when I do this, actually dressed kind of funny. There we go. That's the way it needs to look. And this is called a square knot. It's parallel or it's symmetrical. So you could actually draw a line right down the center of this because these two are coming in front of this loop here, and these two are coming in back of this loop, okay? So we'll start that again. Always taking the red one over top of the white one. So we start here, red goes over, pulls taut, take our ends again, red goes over, and we pull tight. And you'll want to check this when you're learning a square knot, that your knot comes out to look like this. So what I often do when I tie my shoes, because I learned when I was really little, right? Like most of you guys, and I learned to always tie knots with my right hand over my left. So I do that first one like that, and then I would go like this. And when I do that, I get a knot like this. Because remember when we had the square knot, they were both, I don't remember if they were over top or both underneath, but they were the same on the same side. And this, when you do a granny knot, it's not parallel. And because of that, it actually doesn't hold as well. So if you have a problem that your shoelaces come untied all the time, you're probably doing a granny knot. So you have this concept right now of how to do a square knot, right? Now we just have to apply that to our bunny ears because we would do this first part the same, right? If we're tying our shoes, we would do the first part our same. And so you just need to watch and see what you usually do. Do you do right over left like this, or do you do left over right? And just pay attention. Okay? Now we have our bunny ears. Now I did right over left the first time. So this time I want to do left over right. And if I do that, you can see everything is under this loop on this side and everything is over this loop on this side. So I actually did a square knot, and this knot will hold very well. I won't have to do double knots like I usually do. And to check yourself, what you can do is just pull the tails through. And if you pull the tails through, then you'll be able to see that you actually did a square knot or a granny knot. Okay, so one last time, practice doing it all the way from the beginning. Okay, so I do right over left. And then when I do my bunny ears, that means I have to do left over right. So left goes on top of my right and pulls through. And that will now give me a square knot, a better knot to be tying my shoes with.
So I hope you learned something today about how better to tie your shoes. Here in the next few weeks, we will be doing some more on knots. And I'll teach you some other ones that might be more useful for camping or climbing or some other outdoor activities that you like to do. Have a great day.